Okay, Michelle. Yesterday, Monday, the 11th of November, yourselves and Social Justice Ireland launched your latest edition of your Spotlight series, and you're talking about rural Ireland. Can you tell me just a bit more about this? And I'm conscious of, well, we're having a general election soon.
Yes, absolutely, Darren. So, yes, it's a snapshot really of the challenges facing rural Ireland and obviously the challenges that are going to be facing the next government, whoever that might be, whatever parties might be in it. And then we're looking at some policies that a new government could implement to build thriving and resilient rural communities. So in terms of challenges, rural areas, they tend to have older populations because a lot of people of working age move to urban areas for work or to the cities. There's higher rates of part-time and seasonal employment. And then because the rural economy is kind of driven by sectors such as construction, agriculture, tourism, retail and hospitality, there's lower median incomes because the pay in those sectors is generally lower than the other professional services sectors. And also there's higher poverty rates in rural areas than the national average. And finally then, in terms of distance to everyday services, it takes people in rural areas 3 times as longer as people in urban areas just to get to, for example, school, to work. But for supermarkets and GPs or pharmacies, actually the average travel distance time is 7 times longer. So it just shows the challenges we face, particularly when we're looking at, implementing public transport policy, promoting electric vehicles and making those affordable to people in rural areas. And then just looking at, what a new government could do. The first one is looking at, making sure investment is balanced between the regions and within the regions, particularly putting more investment, I suppose, to the northern and western seaboards, the Midlands, the West and the Northwest in particular. Continue to roll out high-speed broadband is really important. Supporting SMEs and micro-enterprises and rural entrepreneurs is really important too. And then putting in the services and infrastructure that you'd need to attract people and to keep people in rural communities. Those are things like public transport, schools, childcare, GPs, pharmacies, and active travel too, so that people should be able to walk to work or just walk for pleasure, go for a cycle, things that, we might take for granted in other areas.
And Fianna Fáil only announced yesterday at their manifesto launch that if they get into government, they're committing themselves to try to bring back in the Department of Community, Rural and Gaeltacht Affairs. Is this something you will support?
Well, I suppose the department then would have a ministry. At the moment, the department is Rural and Community Development. What would be key, really, you can have a department, but unless you put in the investment and you make it integrated, so that the department should have if they're going to do that, if they get into government, should have full responsibility for all rural policy rather than parts of being in other departments. And the investment should go through that department then to make sure the strategies and programs that it has under its remit are fully rolled out, that there is rural proofing so that people in rural areas can expect services at the same standards as urban areas, and that they do that balanced investment. So whether a new department can deliver that or a revitalisation of an old department remains to be seen, because unless they put the money in, you're still not going to see the outcomes.
Yeah, and as you're saying, their infrastructure is very important as well, particularly in the Northwest. The All Ireland Strategic Rail Review, that could potentially make a great difference, couldn't it?
It could, and we'd like to see that expedited. And there was the report issued by the Department of Transport earlier this year, particularly on rail linkages, and that's really missing up in the Northwest in particular. In terms of transport links, the rail links just aren't there. I know that certainly would take time to roll out, but we need to see some of that front-loaded, that investment, and also just improving the public transport facilities there and the road network, because if you're going to be relying on buses to transport people to and from Dublin, for example, then the road network really needs to be improved as well.
Okay, Michelle, Thomas Keinstadt there in March on Dara Lade, agus in an Hainu Lade, Shoshiv, Torsh Fiog, Spotlight Series, a Kainchfi on sale for two in there. And if I got Nismo, ain't you done for you at all?
Tommy and Darren Keencha. So on Turkshin, Toshigarker, an saoile atá faoin tú is the geantar thuaithe in éireann agus cadíad na dúchláin atá ann agus céin sort freagrathe nó policy bacóir den rialtas nua chur a bhaim chun rudí ausó ausú go leiscéil ag geantar thua. So an céad rud is tá chuid is mód an am tá an phobal faoin tú atá sin níos éastan an phobal is na catharcha mar hampla mar tána na daoine atá ag gur fosna tain siad go dtí na catharcha chun posna áil cumáile sin an tá níos mó posna atá part-time se mar hampla agus nuair atá ag na fosna atá ann is mar hampla mar tatú gobar in ag tógal tuthe nó in Óstán nó i Bíalin nó ag Fairmarks mar hampla tá an sin tá sin níos ísle ná pá mar hampla nó tatú gobar le ICT nó pharmaceutical. So gohara tá an income atá dolas jacks na tuthe faoin túthe tá sin níos ísle cumáid so sin cúpla denna dúchláin atá ann denna fibanna atá cumáile sin níl an choras an per publi cumáid faoin tú is atá sé in na catharcha. So tá na dúchláin sin ann bhí si down Hannah Hain bhí si down na fihe sa fihe nó an céad oltáchán eile ar siúil agus fós tá si down mar I suppose níl muid tréis an a méid inistíocht bacóiré a chusteach I geantar túthe.
Dáil sig fína fáil as fear oibreann nó manifesto inné maidir leis an tolteachán agus dúirt siad má hain siad ará si gocht tréis an olteachán go méid siad ag éirí an roiin pobl túthe agus geartachta a bhunú. Derfin méidir mé ceartach derfin go bháilteoí sibh social justice ar na seo an bháilteoí?
Well, I suppose Brian sé an príomhrud má tá féna fáil arás an rialtas an príomhrud bacóir de aon rialtas nua a dhéanamh ná a bheith cínte go bhfuil an NSGX ceart ag dolas jacks na réigiún agus kan bheith cínte níl sé ag dolas jack de chundé atá an aice le bailí lia. Cai an inistig sin dolas jack go dtí na chundé eile caiimiid ar chur muo, for example, muo mar hampla dúna nál, cúni an Cáháin, cúni a bháile, Port Láirge, chundé an chlár. Tímplan sin na haitena sin caiimiid an inistíocht a chusteach an na réigiún sin agus na chundé sin. Agus caiimiid bheith cínte go bhfuil dahan inistíocht ag dolasteach an snorí cartó so níos mó dul chun cín leis an lehan banda mar hampla, níos mó choras an per publi, níos mó cosan an go bheith ag siúl dul chun siúlód agus cosan roiíocht an cumáid agus chun bheith cínte ggóilmuid ag tuairt takeíocht den cólachtaí beaga atá faoin tú so na SMEs mar hampla or níl muid chun na cólachtaí mór a cosla na Googles nó na Intels nó na cólachtaí mar sin níl siad chun dolas stockí áint na bheaga cheantar tú so béimiid ag brathna na SMEs agus na cólachtaí beaga sin agus caiimiid do an takeíocht a hort na cólachtaí sin chun bheith cínte go bhfuil an saoil académiachta faoin tútha cumáis atá an saoil académiachta I lár na catharcha.
Tá gom ghfuil fáimhin lá chundathe in éireann las mid de mór cantar bhaile lé agus cúpla chundé eile ach modular infrastructure tá dún na ngáil mar an chundé san áit is massa in éireann nach bhfuil ó thaobh infrastructure.
Tá mar níl ein nasc trénacha idir dúnanál agus bailíad líon nó dúnanál agus sligach nó. So gohar tá five more mar tá an réalteach sa brathair an príomhbóthracha agus níl na príomhbóthracha tríd an túisgurt agus na príomhbóthra dúnanál like níl si go maiid cai si bhád níos mó obair a dhéanamh ar na bóthra sin agus go méid si ní lecha mar hampla agus cumáile sin just Mariella just Cúrsaí t-agallamh tá five more Micah ann in san chundé sin dúnanál so ach fós níl sort of in réiteocht den aibh sin so daoine ag fannacht agus fannacht tá sé seo a chur brú ar na méid tá tú an ann fáil ar cíos mar hampla mar agus so tá a lán brú ar Cúrsaí t-agallamh sa chundé sin níl dohan infrastructure an agus má tá tú chun takeíocht a horticultaí such a free course on for logistics mar hampla before the size before the quality of an is such event trainacha kun rudia boga o tier 1 and tier tiva 1 and tier gadi and tivella so neil me expect well gadisha niakamoy John made Imni onrealtas fui Cúrsaí atá ar siúla dúnanál agus má táú géirí takeíocht a hortadíine atá ag obair an bhaile má táú géirí go mé balta faoin tútha bóiach go mé Cúrsaí eacnamaíocht an sin go mé daoine óga go mé deisina duna daoine óga fan tonight as atá siad go mé siad nen post maya all go mé siad nen plana hogal an sin well cai siad faoin na service agus an infrastructure atá dí agus na service agus an infrastructure sin a curvaim agus I suppose sin an other homage and rod than realtas nua bé agad acu bé a lán agad acu agus cai siad ús a went as an agad sin kun an sale faoin tú a house